the average American household debt on credit card. $9,530. If we use 8.9% minimum payment, and 8.9, again, it's a good interest rate, that's probably we all have. And we just use minimum that they allow us to pay. It's gonna take 12 years and 10 months if you never ever use that card again. Just the interest rate is $2,900. Now, 11.9, again, that's a good rate. That's nothing, cash or any big penalty rate. Just a normal 11.9. Same money, same minimum rate, a minimum amount. It will take 14 years and 2 months to pay it off. The interest rate that you paid is, look at again, just a couple interest rate difference, 3%, and look at how much more it costs. Okay, how to get rid of the credit balance? First of all, that's one of the main topics, right? So what are you going to do to lower the interest rate? Very simple. Ask. It's going to make some copies. Use that letter and just read it, call your bank, and just very naturally, very politely, but tell them that you have another company that's offering a much better interest rate. You work with them for so long. I would appreciate if you could match so I don't have to transfer my balance to another company. Could you please do that? Most of the time it works. If not, then we're going to talk about it later. But that's the first step. So what are you going to do? You get your statement and you call the bank and you're going to read that letter that I'm going to give you, okay? Lower your interest rate. That's the first step. Because you already know that the lower the interest rate, with the same amount of money that you pay monthly, more goes into the principal that you borrowed instead of wasting an interest. Okay? How to pay off the card? I used to explain that a little bit different, but this time I'm just going to go with this and later you will find out why. If you have a couple of credit cards, and I'm assuming that now you are at the same level with interest rates. Okay, so they basically, one is 8.9, one is 9.2, close, okay? Then take the one that is the smallest that you owe to the bank, and on the larger one, just pay the minimum. Just pay the minimum, the smaller amount, what is required minimum, plus any money that you can save, and we're gonna go later with the budgeting. If you can save $50, $100, add that to the minimum and send it in. On the larger amount, just keep the minimum. If you have 3 of them, on the second and the third, just pay the minimum, but the first one put all the effort into the first one, which is the smallest that you owe. You understand what I'm saying? Once you pay that off, go to the next one. Now you add the minimum that you paid on the second, and just pay the minimum on the third or the fourth, and pay that one off. That is the fastest way. And the reason I'm saying this, because I know a lot of people, what they do, they add $50 to this one, $50 to that one, $50 to that one, and then none of them get ever paid off. So concentrate on one at a time. The rest of it, just have minimum payments. How to find out your credit score? And we're going to see why is it so important. Fair Isaac and Corporation is the most influential, and that's what really our whole life depends on this company. They look at your credit score based on the payment history. They give 35%. How much do you owe? 30%. And remember that number, because we're going to get back to it later on. 30% is how much do you owe. How long you are borrowing, the credit history, and what type of credit you're using. The score is between 300 and 850, and from 720 on you consider golden. That means you can apply, and there you get a lot of offer for 0 interest rates. So try to reach the 720. From 720 on, you are in a good shape. Oh, the www.myfico.com, that's how you can get your credit report. Okay, how to improve your credit score. Now this is very important. It's not on your notes. Increase your credit limit. This sounds silly, I know, but remember I said what's that number, the ratio? Okay, you have a credit card and you have it like a couple years. Let's say they gave you, I'm just throwing a number, $3,000, okay? And you are a good standing with them, call them and ask if you could raise my limit, okay? And they say, okay, how much would you like? Well, don't tell, just say, how much can you give me? Don't ever mention number, let them mention it, okay? Because you might ask for less. Now, remember, this is not to use it. This is to increase the limit. Because what it does for you, the debt to credit ratio will, okay, if you owe $9,000 on the $10,000 credit card, it's different ratio than a $9,000 owing on the $20,000 credit card. You understand that? The ratio? Use goodwill letters. This is kind of important. You should really make notes on this because this is what you want to do. You're going to need to increase the credit score to get in better shape and pay off using the same money all your debt. Use goodwill letters to remove late payment. And here they advise the last 2 years, okay? In other words, look at the companies once you have your report. Look at the companies that you are still working with. You are in good standing order, okay? You're still doing business. And on the report it says last year in December, for some reason, you were late, okay? Write them a letter and saying, I'm so sorry, I had such a good report. Do you think you can remove this? And the reason it's at 2 years, because according to all credit advisors, anything older than 2 years really doesn't make much difference. Actually, you don't want to start to mess with it, because the closer you are to or something happened, that's what counts. 2 years, 3 years, it's there, but it's not that important. Remove inaccurate, negative information. Make the date less activity. That's what I was saying, to make sure that it's not something that says that it happened 3 years ago, because that doesn't really matter. And this is the second very important. If you have a high debt, that means like a $10,000 credit card and you owe $9,000. Create a plan to pay it down to anywhere near to 30% utilization. Now what does this mean? Let's say you have 3 credit cards. Okay, the credit card has a $5,000 limit. On one card you owe $4,000. The other $5,000 card, you have $1,000 only. Transfer about the $1,500 over to the lower one, because that means both cards will become only 50% ratio to the limit. And that gives you a better score. Okay? Now, if you can pay it down, but if you can, then try to divide them. But don't just transfer one to another, because then, just because it's lower interest rate, for example, okay? Because then you are back to the high ratio.